Right. Okay. Good evening to all of you. Today is the second day of the Digital IT Week organized by Sri Lanka Expo Development Board together with SLASCOM, FITIS, and ICTA. So you are in the second session for the second day. I'm Ravindi, Ranaraja, Assistant Director of Sri Lanka Expo Development Board, and I'm pleased to be your moderator for the evening. There's a very exciting discussion event planned for all of you. We have most prestigious award-winning global entrepreneurs with us today. And to give you a background on the topic, we are discussing on how to reach global heights for the startups and entrepreneurs. So basically the objective of this panel discussion is mainly to encourage the undergraduates to become entrepreneurs, from managing your own finance and to be your own boss and not having anyone to dictate what you have to do. So without further ado, let me introduce to the exciting, the most prestigious panelists we have. We have Dr. Sanjiva Weerawarana, founder and CEO of WSO2, Lakmini Wijesundera, co-founder and CEO of Iron Technologies and BoardPAC, Mangala Karunaratne, co-founder of Calcey Technologies, Harsha Purasinghe, founder CEO of MIHCM and Microimage. So to the panel discussion, I would like to have three sections. First, we'll let the panelists to give a brief introduction to yourself, and then we will discuss on how to reach global heights, and then we'll open for the Q&A session. Basically, to give an idea on the objective of the panel discussion we are having, we have most of the undergraduates who want to become entrepreneur, and then to discuss on the journey of an entrepreneur and what fascinated you to become an entrepreneur. So would like to invite the panelists starting from Lakmini. What is your journey? What is your story behind, and what you want to share with as a brief introduction?
Thanks so much, Ravindri. I'm really happy to be in this panel. I'm really glad to see this event. So my name is Lakmini Wijesundera, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Iron Technologies and BoardPAC. These are both companies that actually Iron has a mix of services. That is, we do work for overseas client services as well as some innovative products in Iron. BoardPAC is a company that is purely a single product company. And we started off locally, but at this point, I'm really glad to say that we have a very large market share in Asia Pacific, to the point that we could even say that we have the largest market share for board portals in Asia Pacific. We've already gone beyond. So we've gone into Africa and some of the US market areas. And that's been our journey. It's 100% Sri Lankan technology. We built it in Sri Lanka. We've sold it with a combination of Sri Lankans, and now our team is actually multinational. So the main strategy is driven from Sri Lanka, but we have staff that is from different countries in our cadre, as well as partners that drive the whole global achievement that we are working on. And I hope that is sufficient for the introduction, Ravindri.
Yeah, Lakshmi, thank you very much for that interesting introduction. And we can move to Sanjiv. Please share your story with us.
Hi, Ravindra. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. My story is I am the founder of WSO2. Before that, I used to work in IBM research. I'm a computer scientist by training, and I was a research guy. I was not a business person. I had no business background or skills or knowledge at the time. I wanted to start a company because I believed in the technology that I was working on, and I wanted to try to find a way to take it to market. IBM didn't want to do what I wanted to do. IBM basically said it's not interesting for IBM's business. That's what made me want to start a company. And we decided from the beginning that it was, I used to live in Sri Lanka by then. I had come back to Sri Lanka 4 years before that. So it was originated out of Sri Lanka, but the company was registered in the US because we raised venture capital money and we had to register outside at the time to get money, to raise money. And it's grown quite a bit. We are now about a 650 plus people company. We have operations in 6 countries. 95% or 90% of the people are in Sri Lanka. All product strategy, almost all product strategy, everything is done by people here. And we sell online for the most part, just because it's a different model that we want to follow. And it's also all open source. So it's a different kind of business. We are an enterprise product company. We sell to companies that buy our product and build some solution for themselves. So we're not an application selling company. And I'll talk more when we chat more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sanjiva. Over to you, Harsha.
Thank you, Ravindi. So I would say I'm a accidental entrepreneur. I probably out of the bunch, I started straight from the school, straight from the high school. This is probably the only high school startup which was started in the 90s, early 90s, and carrying on for so long. We started from absolute scratch. We saw a business opportunity. I wouldn't say it's a business opportunity. We were doing what we are passionate about, building interesting software. And one of the products that we built was Sinhala software for the transition period from DOS to Windows 3.1. And that took off and we got a lot of money. I was just 19 years old when I started this. And with that capital, we just keep doing what we did best. And over the period of time, we focus into a couple of product areas which we now really accelerating our growth. One is, which is doing really well, is our human capital management business, which we, with our recent MyHCM cloud product, we have really grown into about 15 markets now. And also, a lot of people don't know we power almost all the radio networks in the country. The music that you hear, to advertising you see, everything is powered by Microimage. So that's another area that we again ventured out back in early 2000. So we are an enterprise, I would say, like Sanjiva said, it's an enterprise software company. We are an enterprise application software company, purely focused on human capital management and also broadcast and the digital space. So I will stop from there, but I just wanted to share a few things. You know, at the times we started, we didn't have any of these things. We didn't have Slashcoms. Only thing I remember is Syntech. The godfather of that time was Professor V.K. Samaranayaka. That's the only man we can look upon to. So it's an interesting time period. I don't think Sanjivas and Mangalas, they probably must be in the US studying. So it's a very interesting era we started, but from that period to now, it's a complete transformation. It's a complete different ecosystem. And unlike us, the new generation of startup entrepreneurs have a lot of people to look upon, to a lot of events like this to participate and learn. So I'll stop for the moment and I'll share more as we progress.
Yeah, thank you very much, Harsha. So we have Mangala to share his exciting journey.
Yeah, hi everyone. Of course, my name is Mangala Karunaratne. I'm the founder of Calcey Technologies. So my story, I actually, before Calcey, I used to work in the Silicon Valley. I worked for a .com called golfweb.com, which was a social network. At that time, we didn't call it a social network, but for golfers, and which got acquired by CBS Sportsline. And then I joined a company called Bay Networks, which got acquired by another large Fortune 100 company called Untitled Chapter. So I've done that corporate grind, actually. Like Harsha said, so I was in US when you were starting up, and so done that. And then when the .com crash happened, I lost everything I made, and because money came very easily. So once I lose everything, but at the same time, I didn't want to work for anyone anymore again. So that's when I started Calcey. So Calcey is a services company. What we sell outcomes. We sell outcomes in the sense when a customer comes to us, we work with the client, we define the outcome they would like to have and then we game plan, we look at the timelines, etc., and then we work with them. So our model is actually a boutique services company, but while we are doing it, if you like some of these startups, we might even end up taking equity. So Calcey today own equity in startups from London to New York. So these are all equity owned by a Sri Lankan company, Calcey Technology. So we are very proud of what we've achieved. We bootstrap all the way for last 18 years. We never raised a single outside money, but we've catered to probably 40 Fortune 100 or 500 companies use products built by us. So, you know, that's a story of a small services company in Sri Lanka.
Right. Thank you very much. I mean, I think it set the foundation for a very fruitful discussion, I would say, and a lot of questions must be now arising in the people of the audience as well. And from like many entrepreneurs think that the starting point is very difficult. Though you have an idea, you have to start it. So based on your experience, how do you suggest, how do you advise to get the things started off the ground? I mean, where's the starting point? That's sometimes people can think it is your the project report, the thesis, that is their starting point. You can get it commercialized. So what is your advice on that? I would like to ask this question from Sanjiv.
Okay. So there are people who have different approaches for starting a company. To me, an entrepreneur is someone who has run into some problem and wants to solve it, and has the capability to solve it, and has the capability to go find the other resources that are necessary to solve it. Because no one, I'm sure all of the other people here will tell you, no one ever builds a company by themselves. You need a lot of really amazing people to support you. And you need a lot of resources. You need money, you need various other resources to build a tech company. And there are two fundamentally different approaches one can take. One is you raise funding from somebody who has money. The other one is, and the other approach is you bootstrap it. That is, you basically have a services business, some other business along the way where you generate enough capital to invest into building a product. Because building a product takes time. And until you build the product and go find a way to market it and sell it and get people to pay you, you don't have enough money to pay for the product development, right? So you either need somebody else's money to build that, or you need to have some other business that's generating money, or you have to have a rich uncle or a rich family who says, sure, here's 100 million rupees, go play with it till you figure out to make something useful, right? So WSO2 came from our path was we raised money to get that product going. So in terms of when it is time to, how do you know, how do you get started? First thing is you have to want to do something about some problem. You have to have that technical capacity. You must have some vision. You must have some passion for it, because it's a long, hard road. WSO has been going for 15 years now, almost 15 years. In August, it's 15 years. I think Harsha has been going for longer. Mangala is also about the same time. I don't know how long Lucky is, but certainly not probably more than 10 years is my guess. It takes time to build a tech company. Even though everybody thinks, oh, this is like simple stuff, you just take your research project and market it and get it done. It doesn't really work like that. Research projects, your final year project, these are great ideas. I'm not trying to discourage anybody. If you're an undergrad, if you have a thing that you think can go win, has a role in the market, you should give it a try. But depending on the kind of problem you want to solve, you also need experience. You also need insight. You need other people who have experience and insight. And you have to kind of build some depth on the technology also to build those things. Because it is very difficult. You are competing. Another thing to remember with software is there is no such thing as a local marketplace you're competing in. Right? Every product you build competes with the entire world, because it's all online anyway, right? There was a time when that wasn't the case, not anymore. You have a product, whether you're in Sri Lanka or Timbuktu or New York, it doesn't matter. The entire world's products are at your fingertips, so you can buy it. So you're competing flat out globally. So you must be able to build something that can compete. And it is not impossible by any means. It's absolutely possible. It's quite straightforward. You just have to be focused and have the commitment to put it off. So idea is important. I personally don't believe in this incubator stuff that says, let's sit around and figure out a problem that you want to solve. You must have something you care about. It must have come from your background, your experiencing the problem, experiencing an environment that says, I just sick and tired of it. I want to fix it. Something like that has to be there to get started.
Yeah, thank you very much. Somewhat controversial that we have listened. I mean, it's with a different idea that you are having, but it's interesting for the attendees, I guess. And from Lakmini, as a female entrepreneur, we have a world-winning entrepreneur. I would like to ask, like, based on the recent workforce survey also, we've learned that majority of the females, there are undergraduates, but when it comes to the workforce and when it comes to the entrepreneurship, many of the females get discouraged of whatever the factors. So according to you, what are the special challenges that you faced, plus what are the special experience that you can share with the young female entrepreneurs?
Sure. Thanks, Ravindri. So in my case, actually, I mean, as far back as I can think of, I always wanted to, have freedom and do something impactful. So I didn't really do it thinking, oh, I'm a female or whatever it is. I just wanted to do it. And I went after it. And I have met so many females in this industry, from, Sandra to Xiaomi to so many, who also have a similar thing. So if you don't think of it as some kind of barrier, it may be controversial. I don't know. I mean, I can't talk for everybody, but as far as I'm concerned, I've never really had a challenge because I was a woman. Actually, it's the other way, because we were working hard, and as Sanjiva was saying, it takes a long time, right, to build something big. We were working really hard for several years, and then this women's chamber had this women's chamber awards. Now suddenly our product, myself, everything got highlighted. So if I wasn't a woman, I don't think I would have had a chance to even apply to it, right? So there's lots of opportunities. And I got the SARC, and that's again a woman award. I don't think there's a SARC man award. So there again, as a woman, I mean, I'd say just there are chances. And then Ernst & Young, that's another one. It opened me globally. That was Ernst & Young, winning women. You have to be like over a certain, I mean, you have to be about $1 to $2 million of a company. You can't be a startup. And they help you to grow. So they open up all sorts of free access, networking. They take you to events. These events are invitee only, Ravindri. So honestly, I think I am me because I was a woman and I got all these chances. But so that's what I tell people, I mean, whatever the opportunity you get, just take it without sort of thinking of all these barriers and stuff. So I hope that answers that. That's my life, right?
That's very, encouraging and inspiration. I mean, there are a lot of people who want to pursue their dreams, but due to various external and internal factors that they get discouraged. But your story is really inspirational, and I think it has a strong message to the young entrepreneurs as well. Exactly. So like, in terms of like, I would like to ask this question from Harsha. Like, I've read in the blog that you have started your career when you were 19 years old, and now you own 3 companies. So I would like to understand what are the tough moments that you have faced in this journey. And there are many startups who struggle to get succeeded, and there are many occasions like the startups or the entrepreneurs feel that they are going to hit the rock bottom and they are going to fail. So according to your experience, have you faced such situations, and how you overcome from those situations?
Yeah, so we've been going on for a very long time. So I would try to share a moment, a very tough moment in our early days. Um, I mean, we have been there for about 2 decades, so we have other challenging moments as well. But I will just to relate to the startups and people who are starting up. So we just straight away start from school, right? Then our initial office was my house. That's where we started. And imagine we had about, I still remember these numbers, we had about 200,000 rupees in our bank account. Purely, nobody invested in our company. It's all purely generated out of the software that we sold. And suddenly bunch of us, the friend of us, all of us together, we decided, why don't we move to an office? And we went and took an office space, which beyond what we could afford. I mean, the whole space was about 150,000 if you look at the annual rental and all that. Then when you put the furniture, everything together, that month, we out of the 150,000, we spent almost close to that amount. And we just moved to that office. And that month, we didn't do a single sale. And we invited our parents to come in. So they came and looked, oh, wow, interesting. We have started office. And I think that this was in 1994. So I was just 20 years old. And towards the end, I realized all of a sudden we have a lot of bills to pay. And when we were operating from my parents' house, there wasn't such things called bills. There's rent and this and that. And also we hired our first employee. We had to pay him as well. So all of a sudden I realized a moment, my goodness, what did I do? Now if I go and ask for money from my parents, that's the end of it. They'll say, you don't have any experience. That's why you got into this situation. Go and study and start something. So I felt a 2 weeks period I will never forget in my life, which I really, really worked hard. I literally went and did demos of our product to so many customers. And you won't believe, towards the end of the month, we got a purchase order, and that purchase order gave us about 150,000. No, it's about 300,000 rupees worth of order from buildings department. It's quite a big order for our Sinhala software. That gave the realization how important cash is for business. From that day onwards, I ensured we always have enough cash to pay our bills. So that's a moment which at the beginning itself would have killed Microimage completely. There wouldn't have been a Microimage. I would have done something else because my parents would have told me, this is not the avenue to take. So that's something that I like to share. And also another interesting moment is when I decided we need to scale globally, and to do that, to take a drastic change to the business that we were in. So we were selling human resource software as an on-premise model back in 2014-15. All of a sudden I decided, let's stop this, build a product which we can take and compete even in the US. So we thought we can build this product in a year and get into the market. No, it took 3 years to engineer. And I think before that I had a stint with WSO2 also. Because of that, I got exposed to so many things, which I will talk subsequently. With that, I realized, if you're building, you have to build it proper. It should be world-class, as Sanjiva said, because you'll be competing with the top world's best products when you go to the global market. So at that moment, when I decided to kill and stop selling the old legacy product, it was a crazy decision, because that stopped generating revenue. And the company purely bet on a completely new product. And if this new product failed, I don't think I would be sitting and talking to you all today. I would be doing something else. But since we so much passionately believe in this product and we really work hard to make it work, all of a sudden, a company which had about 4 or 5 markets, we are now in about 15 to 16 markets across. We are in almost all the ASEAN countries. And from 0 headcount for these new cloud products, we have close to 100,000 users now in almost all the ASEAN countries. So we got this sort of exponential growth, I would say, within the last 3 years. So all of a sudden, this high school startup is operating like a startup since 2017. So this is another interesting moment where we almost killed the legacy company that we built and started something completely new with a hope of scaling and building something bigger, solving a bigger problem that we see in the market, which is basically taking the legacy human capital management world to the digital world. So these are the two examples I would love to share.
Right. Thank you very much. I mean, getting know of those first-hand experience add more value to all. So one question, since you've talked about the financial aspects, the financial credibility that you have to have when you are starting a business, would like to ask from Mangala, like for any entrepreneur or any undergraduate who are trying to start a business, having the initial capital is a huge issue for them. They don't have money as they want to spend to buy a space in an incubator or to hire people or anything. So what's your advice on that? I mean, what do you think that there are many resources that we can get the funding in the present situation? But at your stage, I don't think that all these options were available. So how were you able to survive, the journey, and how you became the financially stable person in your business?
Okay, great question. I think Sanjiva covered some of it about the fundraising, but when I started in 2002, I've already had a great deal of experience, and I learned a major lesson during the dot-com crash. I learned the value of money. Until then, I did not value money. I treated it like just gambling tokens. I don't know. I just the losing everything because the money I lost earlier, I earned them very easily. I did not really have to work as hard as I've done with Calcey. So that taught me the value of money. And then, so when I started, of course, I got about 2 million rupees worth of incubation support from my family. So that really helped at that time. So I gave 15% equity in return for the family. So it's I got the office space and infrastructure. It's like a small room like the one I'm staying in here right now. So we, a couple of desks, and we didn't even have a network. And we literally started really small scale. And I didn't necessarily think of raising money because I've seen it in the valley, the raising money piece. And so it's just a personal choice. I wanted to build it myself. And then we slowly did the services. But I remember when I was initially, we were really desperate. Like for 4 years, we struggled like nothing. We never managed to breathe, get our nose out of the water for about 3-4 years. So during that time, I was really desperate. And then I remember we'd done projects where we only had $300 profit for the entire month per person. That's the kind of profits we had. And then one of the deans of a computer science department here scolded me for doing that. He was like, why are you doing this so cheap? But for me at that time, the highest price I can sell is the highest price someone was willing to pay. So I had no other choice. I refused to work for somebody. I had to get the business going. So if I were after quick money, or if I were after making good profit at that time, I probably should have gone into wheeler dealing, because I was not after money only. I wanted to build a business. I wanted to build a business that has attraction, portfolio, reputation, credibility. So to do that, we had to build that relationship. We had to build that credibility. So that's where we really invested our time. And so I wasn't after a lot of profit. I was after just to pay my bills, just to pay my food for the family, and then grow in the business. So we literally truly bootstrapped. So like part of your question, we didn't have the social media and growth hacking and digital marketing at that time, right? So it was primarily sort of networking and contacts. And then what we still do is what we call consultative sales. So sometimes we just get in there and start solving problems for our prospects or clients. And then we win the trust, we win the confidence, and then we end up getting the purchase orders. So that's what we did. I'm sure you, I mean, Harsha, you struggle a lot when you were starting to, so you probably remember those things. So that's kind of how I got. But today there is a decent set of investors in the country. However, that's if you have a good product with great traction, no problem. People can raise money. That's done, right? That's not a problem. The problem here is when you have idea, you just have idea and raising seed capital. That's sometimes tough unless you have track record. Let's say you are a proven track record person, then of course you can raise money. But if you are just without anything, you just have idea, it's not easy raising money. It's not just only in Sri Lanka though. I mean, nowhere, nobody's gonna just flush their money down the toilet for ideas unless they're convinced. So it's not easy if you are just idea stage without a product or traction. So that's when you have to start small and build a product or bootstrap like Harsha did, and get some traction, and then maybe raise money. I mean, that's probably what I have to say about the raising money here. And then, but you got to start somewhere. You cannot, the key message I have to tell you is like, you cannot expect to be a millionaire overnight. That's what some wannabe entrepreneurs think. And if you think you're gonna make money overnight, within weeks, within years, then you have to get into some other business. That's drug dealing. I don't know, but not in the tech. You have to put your time, you have to put your commitment, and this is for the long haul.
Right. Yeah, interesting. Like that's something that as from EDB also what we see is some people are there coming to us and say, I have this idea and I have sort of a couple of clients to sell this product. How can we find a client in US? So it's very difficult. I mean, it's like first you have to get the business locally and like do some referrals, and through the network only that you can get into the serious business. Yeah. Like Sanjiva, that you've mentioned about like having an industry experience. I know that you've been working for IBM for around 8 to 9 years. And what do you think, like, is it essential to have an industry experience, 10 to 15 years industry experience in order to start a business on your own? And I've read one of your blog posts, you have mentioned that you were a Uber driver as well. So share your experience on that.
Sure. So on experience, let me just touch back to something Mangala just said. He said, if you're trying to raise money, you must have a track record. So education and experience is a track record. When I started WSO2, I had no business track record. I had absolutely zero credibility on building or marketing or selling, but I had technical credibility. And WSO2 was funded by angel investors for $625,000 on an open office slide deck, right? Done by me. There were no fancy consultant nonsense with beautiful slides. There were ugly graphics. I'm colorblind. The colors were all off as always with my slides. And they're just basic fonts. That was the pitch. There was no document, and there was a spreadsheet with made up numbers. If you're an entrepreneur, you know how to make up numbers because you have to show people that your money is going to go up like that, and it never does, but that's the way the spreadsheet has to look. We had that. My co-founder, Paul Fremantle, knew how to make a nice spreadsheet. He made the spreadsheet. I made the slides because I was the technical vision. So you have to have a track record. Track record can be you've started another company, but then you have to go and ask, how did you start that company, right? And if you have technical experience, it really helps to say, yeah, maybe this guy or this girl can take my money and do something with it, right? And I didn't have any money to invest on a company. I had to raise money, and they are betting their money. And one of the seed investors had a very important feedback to us, which was, if you guys go and mess this up, I will lose my money and nothing will come out of it. And you will just go and get a job, because you're technical people, you can just go and get a job, right? So it's a very important point. If you are starting a company, you have to remember that there's a big risk, but not always for you, right? Technical guys are not taking all the risk. The other part is second part of that message is, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to be able to sell. Doesn't matter what it is, you have to be able to sell. You must sell your technical vision. You must be able to tell your, because you have to hire people. You have to recruit people who, I can tell you, there was one guy, this is in 2005 or 2006, right? WC was just starting up. In 2006, we were at like 40, 50 people. There was one really good guy who was working in Virtusa. Sorry, it doesn't matter. Virtusa was even then a big company, and now it's a very big company, right? 3,000 people or whatever. And we were trying to recruit him to WC2. And he went through all the interviews. He was great. We gave an offer. He wanted to join. And his father had told him, are you nuts? You're trying to leave this brand name company and go to some unknown rinky-dinky company? No. And he didn't join, right? So selling, so this is a real problem in Sri Lanka, because people don't, people consider the brand of the place you work for more important than the work you do in some cases. That becomes a problem. So selling is very important, right? So experience-wise, the other aspect of experience is the value of experience is you have experienced problems. Then you can have an opinion and an approach for a solution that somebody else may not have, because you have experienced that problem. So there is a lot of interest in starting up directly from university or from high school, as Harsha did. To me, those are exceptional cases. They are not the majority. Majority of the startups are people who are in their 30s who do a startup. If you look at the tech industry, majority of the startups, the technology companies that have become global brands, are not people who started when they were 25. There are exceptions. Bill Gates started when he was, a kid, right, and dropped out of Harvard. But for every one of those, and for every Harsha, there's probably 100 who gave up on whatever options and tried to do a company and never made it, right? So I'm not that much of a risk taker. For me, it was a much safer path, because I knew what I was doing. I was 100% confident in the technology. I was 100% confident that we could build it. And so it was, to me, it was like, just give me the money, I'll get it done, right? And we managed to do that. So it's a trade-off if you are building, but then again, there are ideas that are completely novel, not about taking something existing and making it better. Facebook was a completely novel idea at the time, right? The web browser, Mozilla web browser, before Mozilla, sorry, most people probably don't even know Mozilla. Mozilla was the name before Netscape, which is what became Firefox. It was written by an undergraduate student at University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And then when he finished, some investor came along and invested money and made it into a company called Netscape, right? And that's what started off the web effectively. In a practical sense, that's what started off the web. Those things happen, but that is not so if you have some idea that is so different that it's not about experience, it's about thinking completely differently, then it's a viable thing for you to make it to go. But it is not an easy thing. Experience has a big trade-off, big value in some of these things. But not everywhere. It's not a necessary precondition. It's not a sufficient precondition. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes hurtful, right? And Uber stuff, I drove. I don't do it these days, obviously, but I do it. I do it whenever I can, mostly to make a point. In Sri Lanka, we have a little bit of a cultural mindset of looking down on certain jobs and people, and it has come from our traditional caste system. It has extended on to modern careers. We look down on somebody who's a driver. You look down on somebody who's a housekeeper. And we have this disgusting word called servant in our culture. To me, these are not acceptable. And the purpose of driving somebody else is just to show them, saying, look, just because somebody's driving you doesn't mean they are lower than you somehow, right? And ideally, I shouldn't have to do that to make that point. But the reality is most people think poorly of people who are driving somehow just because they're driving you. And then the funniest thing is when I'm driving somebody, I can hear the conversation. And it's just hilarious how ridiculous their thinking is relative, because I'm in there and they're talking about their personal lives or their professional conflicts or whatever. They're ignoring me. Like I don't, so yeah, it's fun. So you should do it. Everybody should do it because it's a great chance to snoop on other people legally.
Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. So there are a couple of questions which are getting posted that I would like to take one here and there. So one question we have for Dr. Sanjiva, you have mentioned about open source software. Tell us more about how to earn by creating open source software solutions. This was posted on FB.
Sure. So there are many models for how you make money off of open source. Let me explain it and then I'll tell you what's coming up more and more, right? Fundamentally, you're trading off time and money. So there's a very interesting rule I saw somewhere and I really believe in, which is time and money are inversely proportional. People who have a lot of time on their hands usually don't have much money. People who have a lot of money on their hands don't have much time. So you use one to save the other. I used to change brakes when I was an undergrad grad student in the US when I had a car. I used to change the brake pads in the car in the US. I used to change oil in the car, right? Because I would save $10 by changing the oil myself and pouring the oil into the drain because I didn't bother with proper disposal at the time. Versus going to somebody and paying them $25 to change the oil. So I'm trading time, my time, which was less valuable, to save $10 at the time, right? The other side is if you have money, instead of going and washing your own car, you can pay somebody else to wash your car, right? And you're saving time. Same thing applies in the software business. So open source software, yes, the source code is freely available. Anybody can use it. Anybody can do stuff with it. But not everybody has the time, and in this case, and the skill needed to go and take that source code and make it do exactly what you want. So people are willing to pay for it. Right? So WC2 has about 700 customers now in 75 different countries. And all the source code for everything we sell is freely available. But they pay us a lot of money for it, right? They pay because they want the support. They want somebody else to take the responsibility. They want somebody else to put their time and not their time, and they're willing to pay for it. So there are variations of that business model. There's this concept of open core. You give some stuff away. You don't give everything away. There are lots of different variations. We have our own little twist on that model, and you need something like that. But the point I want to just highlight is with cloud, the concept of source code is going away very fast. Because if I'm using something as a cloud service like Harsha's HR solution, I don't know what the thing is written in. I don't care. I don't know where it's running. All I know is there's a URL and I go to the URL, right? Facebook was written in PHP for a long time. Nobody even knew that. Nobody cared. Right? It's facebook.com, that's it, right? Or Zoom, I have no idea what Zoom is written in. I don't really care at all. And the fact that it is a source code is not available, even if I have the source code for the Google search engine, I can't do anything about it because I can't use it. Even if I had source code for Facebook, it doesn't do me any good. Right? So there is a, cloud is really challenging some of the open source business models, because once you go to cloud, you don't need to be source code available. Doesn't matter basically.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. I think you've got the answer for that question. With that, would like to ask from Lakmini, like you have mentioned that you have global presence in several countries, and many of the people are using your product, and you have acquired almost all the regions. So what do you think? It's possible for a Sri Lankan entrepreneur to build a company to become a #1 global company and to build a brand which can go into Fortune 500 or the top 100 IT brands in the world?
So thanks, Ravindri. So I guess the answer initially, right off the bat, I would like to say yes. I totally believe that. Of course, it's not going to be easy. And the question that you're asking is because Sri Lanka, all of us, we are working towards it, but there is no #1 product built in Sri Lanka yet. Otherwise, of course, once it's done, this question is, no longer a question. So of course, there's no barrier, there's no hard barrier. So I believe, actually, if you take BoardPAC, we are really strongly working towards it. We've told the team is aware, to becoming a unicorn, becoming a top 100 IT company, and we've sort of been looking at who's in that top 100, so to say, and making BoardPAC that the top product globally is something that we are working on. So I'm actually happy to say, I mean, again, Harsha, I'm really happy. Harsha also is somewhat similar from the things that he said. From an Asia perspective, if you take board portals, we are pretty much having the #1 share, market share. There is no other single party that has more implementations than us. That's kind of what we see. But having said that, I mean, we're not at the end of this game, right? And what I'm seeing is, I mean, again, I mean, when we started, the support levels were quite low in the ecosystem. We didn't even know that there was a startup scene or anything like that. We were just starting up because we were passionate. And I mean, we didn't even know these words really. But now, if y'all are starting up, these undergraduates who are looking at this, there's so much. I mean, as even Mangala mentioned, there's the SLASCOM is available, ICTA, the spiralation. I myself, and I think many of you all have been participating. There's a lot going on. There's funding from Lanka Angel Network. So startup area is there. But I mean, first there's a barrier, or let's say a stage where the founder has to do a lot of things. If you're organic, I mean, if you're funded, it's a different path. But myself, my company is like organic. So we started up with our services money, then we started earning our money, and then we put that money back to grow. So till we're about $1 million, I would say that myself as well, I was hands-on in almost every sale. You know, we had to do everything because we couldn't really afford like a lot of expertise. We were running around like crazy. I think I was on a suitcase like all the time. And then after a while, after a certain amount of money is achieved, between, let's say, I don't know, maybe like $3 million to $100 million, because you have to go stage by stage, right, to get to $1 billion. So that stage, you cannot do what you did when you were small. So we've had to change. And sometimes the thing is, we also love to sell. We want to be in front of the customer all the time. But then how many customers can you get in a year, right? So then we have to hand over, we have to start hiring. And that's actually, honestly, that has been harder than selling. Finding the right people, especially overseas. We used to do Zoom calls because, we can't be there for a month to hire the right people. Sometimes we hire like the greatest person we've found. We go there and he's like actually somebody else, like face to face. What you saw is not what you get. So we had so many failures, changes of staff. So when I say we have a multinational staff, it's a nice thing to say, but my God, the amount of suffering we had hiring people, it's still not perfect. I mean, we're still learning. We're taking more time now. We are not like earlier. We used to have deadlines. Like if we had a certain amount of money and a target, we used to want to hire people, let's say before August, we have to hire these 3 people and we get the best we can and hire. But now we don't do that. If we don't find the people, we don't hire. We wait, we keep doing more. So the learnings are quite a bit. So the question was whether we can be $1 billion or a top company from Sri Lanka. Absolutely. And I believe more of us. Now, for example, when I hear Harsha, I feel happy because some of the things he's saying, I go through it, So we all share these common multinational challenges. So it's good to have other people having that kind of challenge, because earlier, let's say a couple of years ago, I didn't even hear anyone else talking about that. So we kind of know we're on the right path. And I believe in, I don't know, maybe like, 5 years time or definitely before 10 years time, we will have some really large companies, like standing out there as #1. I truly believe it. And I hope we are going to be one of them. And we're going to work, really hard to be one of them. So that's kind of my answer on that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shami. There's one question which is related to that also. How can we explore for opportunities in exporting? Like basically what I earlier mentioned before, how to find clients in international market. basically. So how from you, Lakmini, since you've touched on that.
So actually, I mean, we also have changed. I mean, we've learned things, we've changed. So originally, first thing I used to do is once I select a market, we visit there. We try to find partners, and usually the partners are through some contact. For example, even today, Harsha has given me a contact in Thailand. So it's through our networks, people we know locally or overseas or whatever. And just to share, I mean, if I go back of BoardPAC, like the first year we had just one client, right? Second year we had just 2 clients. And during that time, we went to SLT to sell, and SLT is owned by Maxis. So the Maxis is the largest telco in Malaysia. Through SLT, Maxis CEO asked me, so Lakmini, do you have like a partner? And immediately, you know, we're driven like that. He just said, yeah, no, we'd absolutely like to be your partner. And then he said, come to my board meeting next week. You know, honestly, Ravindri, on that day, we didn't know whether we had enough money in the bank account to actually make that flight. So even flying there, our product wasn't, we had only like 2-3 customers at that time. It wasn't ready. I was like quite nervous, thinking we're going to get slammed because like Maxis is on Petronas building. I mean, so daunting, right? And those companies look so big. And I was thinking, they must be making a mistake because they must be having another platform. You know, we are so early in our stage, right? Went there. I mean, I can't tell you the full story, but it's a lovely story there because there was another Sri Lankan gentleman who completely supported me at the board. And he took me around. Mahathir Mohamad's son was there. I mean, it's a story of its own. And we won it. And I mean, we didn't have the product. And if, you know, at another forum, I tell you how nervous we were, but we got it. And then they wanted to sell us. So it's not from a book really. It's a specific situations. From that, we got so much courage that we can do any country. And thereon we went there. So, but now what we found is that we have to grow. We have to have volume. So in a month, in a year, we have to have a lot of volume to grow fast, right? So there are these, they are B2B. There are these databases. There are these databases for every country. You can buy it. It's a little expensive, but you can directly get access to the correct people's phone numbers and email addresses. So we are actually going to that, doing direct marketing. So if you ask me, what we are doing to reach lot of markets, lot of customers, that's the approach we are doing along with our teams. So I hope that kind of, I mean, it's a mix of things. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Looking at one of the questions posted in Zoom, like we have one interesting question for Harsha. It's like, I'm curious to know why were you not able to build a second company without killing the legacy company product? What were the complexities you found to manage both?
So I like to add to what Lakmini said also, but first of all, let me answer the question. We didn't actually kill the company, we killed the product because it's reaching that era is over. You know, we didn't believe in that era. We believed in the future of work. So we wanted to build for that future. So that's, so when we make that decisions, as Sanjiva always said, you need to present your vision and present where you want to take your customers to. And you can't do that showcasing 2 things from the past and something from the future. So you need to clearly tell your current customers, look, this is the future that we have built. And we like to see you migrate to that future. So we wanted to ask all our legacy customers to migrate to that cloud future and the digital future. And also we wanted to acquire customers who want to move from whatever legacy practices into a digital future. So that's one reason. The other reason is maintaining so many code bases are a complex thing. And once you decide to focus on one journey and build a platform, we essentially build a platform rather than just another product. So since we have built a platform over the past 3 years, we have been able to innovate top of that platform faster than most of the companies who are competing with us in each and every market. You know, every market we operate, from Thailand to Malaysia to Singapore, we have all the local competition you can get. We get regional players, and also we get the Western products competing with us. So if you have not built a world-class product that you can truly focus, where you have to focus on a legacy product and you have so much legacy customers also you're acquiring, it's a very, very difficult thing to do for a smaller company. I mean, and also when you know that legacy business is going to fade away very soon. So this is the one reason we wanted to really kill that. We didn't kill the company, we killed the product. And we ask or gave notice with sufficient time period, like 3 to 4 years time period, for all our customers to migrate to cloud. And some customers like it, some customers were not happy because some customers doesn't believe in that kind of a journey. They wanted to hold everything on their own servers for some long, so it's different. But I must say, with this journey, we've been able to acquire some interesting customers. You know, we just, a couple of months ago, we won one of the most prestigious customers, which, I mean, like, when we look at our journey, winning Malaysian Stock Exchange, which is one of the biggest institutions in Malaysia, was a big thing. I mean, we competed not with the local products, we competed with the likes of the SAPs and the Oracles of this world, and won this. And these are RFP head-on competition, and I can't mention few others. We closed a couple of large banks. We won this third largest bank in Myanmar, again, competing. It's 10,000 employees, huge. So in Thailand, we won one of the largest insurance companies. So these are all competing with various products. So if we didn't have that focus, we won't be able to achieve that. So coming back to what Lakmini was sharing, so it all depends on the kind of product that you have built. You know, if you are building an internet-based product, your market is pretty much global, unless it's like very complex, very customized, localized to certain territories like HR. If not, you have to think of a global thing. So if you're competing globally as an internet product, or purely out of purely leveraging the internet, your product has to be absolutely brilliant and it has to be world class. So there are companies like that. I'd really like to mention one company. There's a product called Creately, built by another entrepreneur called one of our good colleagues, Shandika Jayasundara. Absolutely brilliant product. And it's purely engineered in Sri Lanka. And his product is sold all over the world. No boundaries. So if you build a product like that, so how does he sell? He sells purely through digital marketing. He run campaigns, focus on most interesting markets, and make sure that when somebody search for diagramming software, he ranks within the top 3. So that's how he does it. And he's really passionately focused on that, and he's doing really well with his new product. So if you look at something like BoardPAC, or even I will talk about our case, we have to have a different strategy. So we have gone into one of the most complex regions in the world. If you look at Southeast Asia, each country is different, culturally different, the languages, sophistication. If you look at Singapore, it's like a very modern country. I mean, we have customers in Singapore now, and we never believed some time ago we will ever have customers in Singapore. So we've acquired customers in Singapore. So how do you do it? So we went for a partner approach, and we are one of the top Microsoft partners today, and we are the Microsoft ISV of the year. In fact, regionally, we are a very well-known Microsoft partner. We are one of the top, I think we rank among the top 5 Microsoft ISVs in Southeast Asia and whole of APAC region. So we used a partner strategy to penetrate into the market. So a product like ours, we adapt a strategy like that. Now, if you look at what Sanjiva said earlier, another strategy, if you're building on open source, you can truly go global and adapt a complete different model. So it all depends on the product or the service that you have built and how you intend to position that product or service in the marketplace.
Yeah, interesting. Like, I have one question for Mangala as well. It asks, hi Mangala, since you are in the tech services business, has COVID affected the way software are built? As an example, e-commerce websites in 5 days over the best quality UI and UX. And will it be a long-term attitude for the clients coming to build software?
A great timely question. No, so we as a company, little while ago, we had this 1 day a week work from home practice. So we kind of had our work from home game plan figured out before COVID happened because of this 1 day work from home. And we always had the reasonable degree of flex time. But what happened like overnight for a lot of companies is this working from home and flex time happened overnight, right? So that changed the game, of course. This is now with the 3rd month, this is all news. With that, when this initially happened, I was really worried. I thought, oh shoot, this is gonna affect all of us and we're gonna be in trouble. But us being in the IT industry, what happened was while some of our clients suffer, some actually really started doing far better. We had a sort of a various clients in different industries. The clients in life science, medical, e-commerce, and the sort of delivery businesses and stuff started thriving. So whatever we lost here, we gained here. So that's literally what happened for us. But I think going forward with this, this could mean now that companies are comfortable with working remote, companies are comfortable with working with people, sort of flex time and all that. I don't have like a clear guaranteed opinion, but what I think could happen is globalization could intensify because of these companies' willingness to work remotely. So that could mean a good or bad. Like when we started, we said a lot of tough times we had, like the issues we had when we started. But there was war and all that. But one good thing we had, it was easier to recruit in 2002 than today. So I mean, I don't even know if I started today the way I started in 2002, I would be whether I'm going to be successful or not, because there's so much competition, right? Now post-COVID, what could happen? What if companies like the big Silicon Valley companies get comfortable working with people remotely, and then they start going global? So that could be a great opportunity for us as a country, and it could bankrupt some companies here, and it could create some new companies. That's yet to be seen how bad or how great it's gonna be. But I think we need to look at positively. I feel like this will give us opportunities. Anyone who look at change as a risk is the loser. You need to look at this as an opportunity. So I feel like this will give us, this will create a new generation of global competitors from countries like Sri Lanka or India or other developing nations, because of this connectivity and opportunity. And then the traditional multinational companies from like the industrialized countries shouldn't underestimate these new global challenges coming from our part of the world. So that's what I feel like this as when I look at rather optimistically.
Yeah, always that I've seen most resilient industry in this COVID situation is IT BPM sector. That has been echoed in many CEOs and many forums as well, because we managed to work consistently even from home. We quickly switched to the working from home mode and all. So I don't think that we had many impact But of course, the cash flow issues must be there for y'all. The corrections and all must be hard, but it will get back to normal. We've got a lot of questions pouring in our side. With limited time and all, let's select quick questions. I have a question for Dr. Sanjiva. Can you explain how we can raise fund for the product-based startup? The reason is product-based startups can take some more time to make profit. Similar question, what are the pros and cons between product-based company and a project-based company? Also,
Okay.
like a SaaS business.
Sorry, what was that part?
Future of SaaS business.
Okay. Well, I think let me take the last one first. I think pretty much every piece of software in the world is going to be available as a service at some point.
Yeah.
So if you're building a product, the best way to build a product now is as a cloud offering, because it changes a lot of things and makes it much easier to sell and reach globally. In terms of building a product, yes, you need capital to build a product. So there are a couple of ways of doing it. One is you raise money from an investor for whom you give a share of the company for raising the money, or you do something else to sell your time in order to have the money to do it. Right? Those are the two fundamental approaches. So WSO is a company that I started. I own a very small percentage of the company, less than 5% of the company. I started the company, but because we have a lot of investors that we've taken money from over the years, and all employees are stock option holders in WSO, about 24% of the company is held by employees. And so that's one approach of doing it, right? So it depends on how big a thing you're trying to go after, depends on how much investment you need. We have raised about $45 million in capital in WSO total. We are not P&L profitable yet, right? We are cash flow positive. That means we're generating money for ourselves now, but we're still not P&L positive. For SaaS companies, that is more normal, because most SaaS companies collect money up front and you put the money back into marketing. So even very large SaaS companies like Salesforce have never been profitable for a very long time. Even 20 years later, they're mostly not profitable, because you just dump the money back into the company to scale the business up. So very different model from the other model where you generate cash and you invest the cash you have, not what you don't have, right? So both are possible. If to obviously do the model of investing cash you don't have, you need to get the money from somebody else, an investor. So to get an investor, you have to pitch a vision, a story, an opportunity for them to grow their investment n times the value that you are putting in now. You put $5 million, you're going to get 50 in some number of years, right? And it's all conjecture, no guarantee in this business. You know, any one of our companies can disappear for 100 reasons, right? Tech companies are notoriously risky businesses, and all of these companies can at the same time become unicorn company. Unicorn means valued at more than $1 billion companies, right? The only unicorn in Sri Lanka in the IT industry is Virtusa, which is which has 3,000 people in Sri Lanka, has about 20,000 in India, I think. Oh, I don't know the numbers. It's a unicorn business. It's worth about, I think, $1.5 billion in the US stock market. So there are different approaches, different styles. It depends on what you want to do. It depends on what you can get access to. I mean, a lot of people don't have a network to go and raise money from. So when I started WSO2 in 2005, by then I had been working in the industry for 8 years. I had been teaching at Purdue University for 3 years before then, and I had a PhD. And I knew a lot of people all over the world because of that. It was that network that let me go and pitch the story. Because at that point, when they're investing on a slide deck, not based on a product that exists, but just a slide deck saying, here's what we're going to build, they're trusting you, not the product. Right? There's no product. They don't know if the product's going to work. They don't know if the idea is viable. They're just trusting you. That's why they're called an angel investor, because they're an angel for you. They're trusting you, just saying, you're coming and pitching some nonsense, and they're like, I don't know whether this nonsense works, but I trust this guy's going to give it the best shot. Right? So again, experience is one of the aspects of experience is a network. Now, all of us, Lakmini, Mangala, Harsha, all of us know each other, and we know another 100 people who are in this mode right now in Sri Lanka, probably, right? So that didn't come from, I don't come from any connections I built up from zero. that came from hard work and time. So, but of course, things have changed so much. In 2005, there were no VC companies around here. It was in the US, there were plenty. Now there are so many opportunities, as Harsha and I think everybody mentioned. The Slascom has things, all the organizations have various things. There are multiple local VC firms now that are investing capital and who are starved for ideas. There are many people who have lots of money to invest, don't have an idea to invest into. So if you have an idea that you think is viable and feasible and is investable, you should give it all you got. And it's not easy. I will tell you, I have myself pitched WSO2 to about 150 different investors. I've only managed to get 4 to say yes, right? In 15 years. So the other 146, more than 146, either said no or just didn't say anything at all most of the time. So it's not an easy path, but it is not impossible.
Yeah. Okay. One question I would like to push this for Harsha. It's ask what is the current situation of technology marketing in Sri Lanka when we compare to the international? What is Sri Lanka's level? Is Sri Lanka doing well? Pretty much interesting question, but answer would be also interesting.
I'm trying to figure out what do you mean by it? So technology marketing means as a profession or? Yeah.
He is referring, I think, maybe for the digital marketing and all, when we market our products, technology marketing, how can compete with the international?
Okay, so in my personal view, I think I will be brutally honest. I think that there's definitely a gap here. So I'll share what I face when we build this product. We build this amazing product, which we believe, at least we believe, okay, fantastic. We started acquiring customers and it's doing well. But when we wanted to really scale, we really found that the kind of talent that we really need to scale it to a much bigger level is very difficult to find. And one area is, of course, people who really understand how to position a SaaS product and how to really position into different markets. It's quite a challenge. So, but if you look at a place like US, if we were in US with this product, if we had the capital also, probably we would have been able to acquire people who have been there, done that, and who quickly know how to really put everything together and execute really well. So when we acquire people to do this, I mean, it's very difficult to find people who really passionate about technology and who knows how to position a product. So there's a bit of a gap, and there's a tremendous, so what I will say is people who like to venture into technology marketing, technology sales, there's a lot of opportunity and potential. I think people like Lakmini, Sanjiva, even Mangala, we are all willing to hire such people who are truly passionate about being in the technology side, selling and marketing, and knows how to position products. So I know at places like WSO2, there were people from diverse background brought in and merged with the engineers and given that knowledge and homegrown that talent. But you know, when you are sometimes building to scale, especially when I read this book, Behind the Cloud from Mark Benioff, if anybody is building a SaaS business, that's a fantastic book to read. Mark Benioff's Salesforce.com founders Behind the Cloud book. It's a fantastic book. Share how from his room, apartment room, how they grew to $1 billion business. And in that, it was very clearly shown how they've been able to acquire very good talent from the valley when they were in certain junction to scale to another level. So the people who were hired, especially for technology marketing positioning, knew the game. So here we have to hire people and share a lot of things and nurture them to a point. So so there's a bit of a gap there. So because the marketeers most of the time in Sri Lanka, when they come out, I think the tendency is to go to the multinationals and the conglomerates and the banks and the top sort of telcos and stuff like that. But I must say, if certain young people can focus on the technology space, there's tremendous opportunity there to be part of all these growing companies, startups, as to play a role of technology marketeer.
Okay. Okay, Harsha. Yeah. I think we've answered pretty much almost all the questions. Some questions have been covered by the explanations given by a few other questions as well. So with this, I think we can conclude our fruitful panel discussion. And like I mentioned before, the main objective of this panel discussion is to clear out the ambiguities that the entrepreneurs or the undergraduates have, that since if they want to start their own business. So the key message, I think, is to have a vision and have industry experience on what you do, and you have to explore new things. And it's a very difficult journey, and I don't think that none of you all make it a success overnight. It was a very dedicated, hard work, and a very tough journey that all I went through. So I think any further questions we can take offline as well. So we'll this session is recorded in the Facebook, posted in Facebook, and we can get connected via that as well. So I would like to thank all the panelists for dedicating your valuable time to share your own experience and to motivate the young graduates to become young entrepreneurs as well. So in terms of like the end result, what we want is to make you all an entrepreneurs and then become exporters, leading exporters in the world, making foreign exchange to the country. I mean, that's what we all are looking at. So thank you very much for all the attendees and all the panelists. Thank you very much, and hope you all had a good session. And I invite all the attendees to join us today for the third day of the Digital IT Week as well. Thank you very much. Stay safe all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.